Hello, listeners. I'm John Herrera with Muni Temps. Welcome to another episode of CitySpeak podcast. Today's CitySpeak is on Help City Manager Onboard New Council Members. This CitySpeak episode applies just as much to special districts and other municipalities and local government organizations as it does to City Hall. Okay, so here we go. Next month, thousands of new city council members and board of directors will be taking the oath of office and be sworn in as the powerful elected officials who will represent the millions of Americans at local communities across the United States of America. Many of these council members and directors may be experienced politicians who are being elected to a second, third, or more terms. These guys and gals are old pros. They don't need much help with being onboarded to take the reins at the dais. However, many new city council members, this is their first rodeo. They need all the help they can get to serve effectively as they represent their communities. Now, whether you like or dislike the new city council members just elected, the people have spoken. The community has said they want these individuals to represent them on the dais. Therefore, you as municipal employees have a duty to do everything in your power to support the city manager in helping the new city council to succeed in their fiduciary duty as stewards of their community. The bottom line, new city council, both as individuals and as a governing body, need to be as ready as possible to hit the ground running at their first council meeting. You municipal employees must do everything in your power to support the city manager to help the new city council be effective as elected representatives of their community, the community that you serve with the same duty and loyalty as the new council members. In today's CitySpeak, we will discuss 6 main points that we municipal employees need to think about to help our city manager onboard the new council members. And here they are. Number 1, let's support the city manager even if he or she is a lame duck executive who everyone knows will likely be fired soon by the new city council majority. Number 2, you city managers, you can survive the new city council by taking your craft seriously. Number 3, city managers, provide good communication to keep the troops working with good morale. Number 4, let us adhere to professional public management protocols, such as the ICMA Code of Ethics and Woodrow Wilson's dichotomy of politics versus administration. Number 5, let's embrace change. This is a fact of life at City Hall. And number 6, we need to fully accept and support the new elected officials to represent the community and to uphold democracy and the Constitution. Okay, first of all, first point, support the city manager even if he's a lame duck leader in transition. During the 30 years I have worked at City Hall, I've seen many lame duck city managers in action a few months before and after the swearing in of new council members. Most of these managers had employment contracts that stated that he or she could not be fired within 6 months of the new council being sworn in. Nevertheless, city managers get fired all the time. The average tenure for city managers was 4 years in the California cities I worked at during my 30-year career as a city finance director. And most of the city managers were fired within 6 months of the prior November elections. So if you're a city manager or even a general manager working at a special district organization, chances are your job is on the chopping block by the new council or board majority right now. Make no mistake, everyone knows who's getting fired soon, and it's usually the city manager and even some directors. The grapevine at City Hall is very efficient. Somehow the rumor mill gets going and news spreads fast. So don't be surprised if everybody already knows. Now, I'm sorry to say, we don't feel sorry for you, Mr. City Manager or Madam City Manager. You all know the most important skill you professional public managers need to have is to be able to count to 3. Now, for those of you who don't know what I mean by count to 3, 3 is the majority for a 5-member council. So as long as you city managers keep the support of a majority of the city council, you get to keep your job. The opposite would be true if 3 of the 5 council members no longer like you. And as we have said, that's why you all get paid the big bucks. Still, it's sad to watch how mean-spirited and vindictive some new council members can be when they seek to fire you as our city manager. Nobody likes getting fired, even though you all know this is a fact of life in the political environment we work at City Hall. Rest assured, we department directors and all our employees will continue to support you as our city manager as long as you're the official chief executive in charge of our organization. All of us need to follow the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. We really do try to put ourselves in your place as a city manager. We can imagine how we would feel and want to be treated while fighting to keep your job under the new city council majority. So at this point, I want to remind you, city managers, what you may sometimes forget when you're under the gun and stress of mean and vindictive city council members hungry to fire you. Fight for your job if you really want to continue to serve your community. So second point is, city managers, survive the new council by taking your craft seriously. City managers, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm speaking as one of your department directors, so I say this with all due respect. It takes finesse and substance to navigate the new council, to not get fired. My dear city managers, if you feel like you're going to be fired, regardless of the reason, be proactive. Take your craft seriously and fight for your job. There's so many things you can do to keep your job when new city council members ran for office to clean house and they're hungry to fire you and other management employees of the city. City managers, you can hold one-on-one meetings with individual council members as well as a group in closed session. Don't wait for the agenda to surprise you when the city manager evaluation item shows up in the closed session section of the council agenda without your approval. Meet with new council members today. Show humility and apologize to them if there's any reason to do so, especially if you made any mistakes that you acknowledge. Remind them that you care more about helping the council as a whole to carry out their new vision for their community. Also remind them, if you made any executive decisions in the last few years, you were only following the will of the previous council majority. After all, that is your job of the city manager. And as a city manager, you cannot go against the council majority. The city manager does not have the same status as the city council. You would give them, this new council, the same commitment to carry out their vision and priorities as you did the old council majority. Also remind them it is costly to pay you a severance and then go through the cost of replacing you and recruiting another city manager. As a finance director, I estimated it cost a city over $500,000 every time they replace their city manager. So if you want to keep your job as city manager, point this out to the new council. They'll think twice about wasting $500,000 of taxpayer money when they have you as an experienced city manager candidate who is ready, willing, and able to carry out the will of the new council majority. Tell them flat out, you say jump, I say how high. I hope that's not beneath you. But don't give up, city managers. Fight for your job. Take your craft seriously. Now, I've not studied the literature in public administration to see the success rate of city managers who fight to keep their jobs when a new city council majority is voted in with the intention to clean house. However, I've seen too many city managers give up quickly and immediately look to their severance packages rather than fighting for their jobs. Now, by fighting for your jobs, I don't mean to use your jiu-jitsu skills or even your legal remedies under your contract. No, what I'm saying is that rather than just giving up and counting your eggs from the severance clause of your city manager employment contract, pray, meditate, and think how you can win over the trust of the new council majority, even if you know they're determined to fire you. The city council members are just human, people who are motivated by the same things. You can find out what motivates the new council members who may be wanting to fire you. And by finding out what motivates them, you may be able to overcome this insurmountable monster staring you in the face to take your job. This reminds me of the 1999 movie, maybe you've seen it, Galaxy Quest, where Commander Jason Nesmith, played by Tim Allen, is fighting an impossible fight against Gorgonak, the giant rock monster. When Commander Jason Nesmith is about to be terminated, Sir Alexander Dane, played by Alan Rickman, he tries to help the commander to fight the giant rock monster. Sir Alexander Dane says, "You're just going to have to figure out what it wants. What is its motivation?" Commander Nesmith says, "It's a rock monster. It doesn't have motivation." Sir Alexander Dane says, "See, that's your problem, Jason. You were never serious about your craft." Yes, your craft as a city manager is a very challenging one. This is why I never wanted to be promoted beyond city finance director. The city manager job was not for me. Your job as city manager may well have overwhelming challenges to overcome, like the one you may be facing today, as new city council members recently elected are seeking to terminate you, just like Commander Jason Nesmith in the movie Galaxy Quest. But any of you city managers facing firing by the new city council majority, all of you, get serious about your craft and repeat the mantra of this Hollywood movie, Commander Jason Nesmith, never give up, never surrender. Yes, find out what is the motivation of the new city council majority monster and see if you can figure out what makes them tick so they can work with you. I've seen dozens of city managers in this precarious situation. And although it is easy for me to say, I've never understood why so many city managers just give up or surrendered their positions instead of fighting to keep their job. A city clerk friend of mine from a city where his city manager is likely going to be fired next month told me he wishes that this city manager would get all council members together to get them acquainted with the city manager and each other. And I agree. Even if you have a Brown Act, here in California we have Brown Act, public notice requirements, do whatever it takes to bring the new council together soon. Get this done ASAP. Try to get a meeting to meet and greet everybody and bring them together to meet all your directors, as many employees of the city as possible. A meeting with the new city council members is an excellent opportunity for city staff to provide an update on the projects currently underway, as well as to allow employees, to the extent that this is possible, to tell about what they're doing. Now, if it's not possible to hold this meeting in person, especially due to COVID, then try to hold a Zoom meeting with all employees and managers of the city. This can be done like any other trade conference show, where each department director can give a presentation and allow for questions and answers. Perhaps you can even allow line employees from all city departments to speak. Now, if none of this is even possible, why not encourage your department directors to create videos like the one I'm doing here, where they can all talk about their priority projects and the initiatives underway and plan for the next budget year. You know, it is so easy to create videos with just a smartphone and or an inexpensive webcam. There's so much that you city managers can do to acquaint the new council members with City Hall and show them that you as city manager and the employees and directors have been and will continue to work hard to carry out their vision for their city, as well as improve the quality of life for the residents, the businesses, and all the stakeholders of your community. Of course, there comes a time when you as city manager know it's time for you to go. Yet rest assured that all municipal employees are counting on you to succeed. So please do your best to provide good communication right now to facilitate a seamless transition for the new administration and city council majority. And that's point number 3. We all expect good communication from the city manager. Though you may be a short-timer city manager who knows you're about to be fired, work hard to gather all the troops together to make the painful transition of the new administration and council majority more palatable. I know this may be hard for you, but you know the law of the jungle at City Hall. This happens. With good weekly communication, especially right now, it's so important, you will be able to keep all employees and department directors informed and keep better employee morale for your organization. And most importantly, this will foster greater cooperation for the most effective onboarding of the new council members next month. This communication is especially important to keep city employees from going rogue. Make it clear and be candid when communicating to city employees who live in the city. They may be beholden to council members because they live in the city, they know each other. Remind these city employees to remain 100% professional. Call them out on it. They are not employees of the council. Only the city manager is an employee of the council. These employees need to remember their place as part of your administration, not as part of the city council. Granted, there are presumptuous city employees who may be a part of the community's good old boy network, and they never seem to get fired, even though everybody knows they are breaking every rule in the council manager form of government. Everybody knows these rebel employees. Though they may remain in their role because of the powers that be, they destroy the professional public management standards and the ICMA code of ethics. These guys are crafty and shrewd, and they end up retiring with big fat pensions just for having been a part of the club. But they will get their justice someday, right? Well, maybe. This made me think of the 1998 movie Almost Heroes. I love movies, by the way. In this movie, Leslie Edwards, played by Matthew Perry, has a funny conversation about justice and fairness with Bidwell, played by David Packer, and also Guy Fontenot, played by Eugene Levy. After Bidwell turns up a day after being dragged away by a large grizzly bear with his leg bitten off by the bear, the script goes as follows. Leslie Edwards says, "Bidwell." Bidwell says, Sir, I've been to hell and back. Leslie Edwards says, yes, I can see that. And Bidwell says, I suspect that now you'll want to lead a hunting party to slay the terrible beast. And Leslie Edwards says, well, yes, that thought did cross my mind briefly, but now I have a better idea. And Bidwell says, yes, sir? Leslie Edwards says, I shall fashion for you the finest wooden leg you have ever seen. And Bidwell says, oh, but what about the bear? Leslie Edwards says, rest assured, Bidwell, in 20 years or so, the ravages of old age will deal with the bear far more cruelly than we ever could have. And Guy Fontenot says, revenge is sweet, sir. Yes, these municipal employees who ignore their place and do not follow the chain of command at City Hall will eventually face the consequences, just like the bear in the movie Almost Heroes. But all joking aside, politically motivated municipal employees should be the exception, not the norm at City Hall. I urge all you employees to stay out of the politics and adhere 100% to professional public management protocols. This is the best model for council manager form of government in upholding democracy at City Hall. Point number 4, adhere to professional public management protocols 100% of the time. It is so easy for you municipal employees to be made feel important when a new city manager, a new council member comes to you for information. Don't do it. Don't take the bait, man. Remember, they're politicians. You are not. And you should follow the direction of the city manager. Stay out of trouble. The city manager and hopefully the city attorney has already told you that the new council members need to go to the city manager if they need information. In highly politically charged city halls right now, new council members will likely ignore the direction of the city manager and professional public management protocols and go right to city employees for whatever they need. If you find yourself with a newly elected council member asking you for information, you will likely have to give it to them, especially if it's too awkward for you not to, or if you feel stupid saying, let me ask my supervisor. This is especially more of an issue for department directors, who will definitely look stupid if they tell a new council member they have to ask permission from the city manager. Directors have the authority to make decisions about what information to give the council, like any other member of the public. Give them the information they are asking for if it is a public record, but also let them know this information you have given them will also be distributed to the rest of the council members. That is the way we do things at City Hall, especially when we have new council members. And of course, always keep the city manager and department directors in the loop whenever any new council member asks for information. Never allow the city manager or directors to be surprised during a city council meeting, either in closed session or open session. As we've said previously, support the city manager in carrying out an effective internal communication channel for new council members. Make sure to work with the city clerk to keep an accounting of all requests for information from the newly elected council members. This will help the city manager and department directors to keep possible the initiatives on their radar. And the city clerk keeps an ongoing and updated agenda planning calendar, right? Where all future council items are tracked. The accounting of council requests will help with planning future city council agendas, and the success of the city manager and department directors depends on that. As we all know, there will likely be changes made by the new city council majority. We know this. And that's point number 5. Embrace change. We all need to embrace change. As municipal employees working at City Hall, the city is a political organization, and politics and change is part and parcel of what we must embrace at City Hall. Change can negatively impact employee morale. So it is imperative that all of you who have leadership responsibilities or skills or a position of authority at City Hall to keep the troops happy. Feed them information and let them know everything will be okay if they keep doing their jobs professionally. There is no value to worrying. There's a poem I love to read in times of change. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, maybe this poem doesn't always apply, but keep it in mind if it does apply, especially when you're stressed. You will likely face a change in the vision of the community you serve when the new council members come on board. Embrace this change. Don't fight it. Hopefully your city manager remains a part of the organization. But if he or she doesn't, you still have to embrace the change and help the new administration to be effective in their leadership to realize that new vision. The old ways are not any better than the new ways of the council. The new city council majority was elected by the people of your community. This is democracy, and you must follow whatever they decide is the new vision for the community. Remember the previous CitySpeak podcast? We reminded you that you're just a municipal employee. You don't have the status of elected officials. Stay out of their gorilla cage, or they will tear out your arms and beat you over the head with them. So be ready to support the new vision for your community to be carried out through City Hall. Some of the changes we will likely face at City Hall in 2020 are great, and they include the following. Public safety is priority number one in all communities. The budget, revenue restructuring, and long-term fiscal sustainability is important. Governance, greater transparency in law enforcement and police reforms, employee pensions, benefits and labor relations, demographics, diversity, inclusiveness, affordable housing, and homeless or persistent violators, as we call them, shelters for the homeless, economic development and budget enhancements, use of social media, and the 24/7 virtual City Hall. There's so much work for all of us to do at City Hall. All of you municipal employees must work with the city manager and the newly elected council members to achieve all the work that has to be done. Whether you like them or not, you all must accept all newly elected officials. This is democracy, and we are all hired to uphold the Constitution and the local government at the local government level. So item 6, our last item, accept all newly elected officials. This is democracy. Yes, most of us as municipal government employees had to sign the oath of office. Remember that? For our appointed positions? It is similar to the oath of office taken by elected officials. Regardless, the oath is important that we recognize and we respect the Constitution, which includes respecting all newly elected officials who were voted in by the majority of the residents of the community you serve. By visiting my website, munitemps.com, click on CitySpeak podcast, read the written blog, and you can click on a sample oath of office used in California. Though today we live in the most divisive and polarized time in our modern history, we as municipal employees are charged with upholding the oath of the office of our position and stay out of politics and accept and support all newly elected officials. If you as a municipal employee choose to become a politician, resign your position and feel free to enter the next race for city council. But make sure to resign your job at City Hall, as you cannot hold public office as an elected official and also as a city employee. City council members don't make very much money. They don't do it for the money. So think about what you're doing here. Pick one or the other. Choose one or the other. You cannot have it both ways. Again, remember our previous CitySpeak podcast where we talked about how municipal employees should stay out of politics. Let us respect our democracy and uphold the Constitution as municipal employees. Support our city manager and accept all newly elected city council members so they are effective in doing their job when they take the dais for the first time and every time during their term in office. Please keep these things in mind. I hope that I didn't offend anybody, but I'm just sharing my experience during 30 years. This is so important for all of us to support the city manager as he onboards the new council members. Let's do everything we can to help with that. This is our role to do that, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. This is John Herrera from Munitemps, thanking you for joining CitySpeak podcast, the blog, the podcast, and the video. Don't forget to subscribe to CitySpeak through Munitemps. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the CitySpeak podcast. Tune in next time where we will talk again about everything relevant to stakeholders at City Hall and municipal government organizations.